Today is Thursday, October 8th, and today's class is going to be hand tools, proper use and
muting.
hand tools, proper use and selection. Okay. Now, quickly, we're going to look at the class schedule here, and we are right now. We are during week 3. We have a week 3 right now going on. And according to our schedule, week 4 is going to be our quiz. So during the week 4, I'm going to make it an online quiz, same as it was with the multimeters for a lab, but this is going to be considered as quiz number 1, and it's worth 5% of your course. Then after that, week 6, we're going to have a first test, and that is also going to be online. Basically on the same circumstances, or with the same rules as the quiz. So you have done the first quiz. You should be familiar with how with the ways that we're doing these here. All right, people are still coming in. Okay. All right, so that's as far as the scheduling. This is week 3 right now. Oh, yeah. Right now we are in week 3. Hand tools, proper use and selection is our topic. Safe use and proper selection, that's it. And then next week, we're going to start online quiz, and that is going to cover weeks 1, 2, 3, and let's say 4. And then after that, we're going to have a test. It's also going to be online, and it's going to go weeks 1 through 5. Yeah, just like that. All right. Let me queue up. I'll take a look at that. There was a question about the quiz, yeah. Where we are not supposed to do the quiz, sir, I meant yesterday. Well, it was, I'm going to verify those dates that I've posted. The test will be worth 15%. See, the tests are worth a little bit more these days during the the COVID-related rescheduling of all the classes in all the colleges probably and schools around the world. So we are re-evaluating the test because there is not going to be a final exam. So that that weight that was supposed to be distributed between all the quizzes and the tests and the final exam. So then the final exam is taken off, but the weight of that is distributed along other evaluation items. Okay. Let's start let's start today's lesson. Okay, so here's a funny picture, very funny. Some things never change. On the top, you see a picture of 2 cavemen trying to do some work on some sort of a primitive log, and somebody has hit their finger with some primitive tool that would be like a glorified stick, That is so funny because they're wearing all primitive clothes and their faces look like they were cavemen. Now, a few thousand years go by, and this is the more sophisticated situation here. That I can see a little bit more sophisticated fellow here, and he's also striking his finger uh, with something that's a little bit more sophisticated than a stick. However, I guess it hurts nevertheless the same. So accidents do happen. Hopefully you will not participate in any of those as you go along with your career. Yeah. All right, let's just get to some definitions and visuals. These are wire cutting pliers, also known as side cutters. What do we see here? We see rubber covered handles, and then we have the jaws, the cutting jaws, and some pivot point. Most of us have used those, and this is also part of your kit. These are used to cut wires. We're going to come back to those rubber covered handles. Now, these are snips. They're also used for cutting, just like scissors, but these are a little bit more tough scissors. They're called snips. These are meant to cut sheet metal. These are used for cutting wires, and these are used for cutting sheet metal. Have I seen some people using the side cutters to cut sheet metal? Yes, I have. It is not very efficient way of doing that. Have I seen some people using these snips to cut wire? Yes, I have, and it's not a pretty sight. You're using this tool that is not meant to do certain type of job. You're using the tool, the right tool, or using the tool for a wrong job. And if you do that, first of all, you won't be able to do a proper job, because if you try to cut wires with these, you're not going to get a nice clean cut. And if you are using tools for the wrong purpose, you are increasing the chances of you getting into an accident. Yes, you can hurt yourself with the simplest tool. During one of the safety training, because if you walk into any huge or big or any construction site, especially those big ones like Ellis Don or others, you are going to get, before they let you into the construction site, you are going to have to go to a training session provided by the safety officer that is on site. And one of the questions that I was asked was, how high do you have to be, or how high do you have to stand above the ground in order to be able to hurt yourself when you fall down? And my answer was, you could be sitting in a chair, and you could be, if you fall down, you can actually hurt yourself. So there is no a specific height that you have to be, no threshold of heights that you have to start being careful. Yeah. All right, keep going. This is an adjustable wrench. All right, this is an adjustable wrench. A very simple tool. However, it's not as simple as just a hammer, because this one actually has some moving parts. And the next slide will show some of the parts of it. This is the anatomy of a simple adjustable wrench. Now, over here we can see that this has a handle. No big deal, no big philosophy, quite simple. And then we have something that's called a worm screw. A worm screw is that if you're turning that screw with your thumb, usually, you can open or close the jaws. And this adjustable wrench has two jaws. One is a fixed jaw, and the other one is an adjustable jaw. Now, when you are applying force on this, if you want to tighten or loosen a bolt or a nut with one of these, you should apply this thing certain way. If you All right, I'm just going to draw something here. Can I see this? If let's say there is a bolt that you're going to, a square head bolt, if you're going to turn that, right? If you're going to turn this bolt, and if you're going to turn it this way, this would be the correct position of this tool, because if you turn this bolt right here, if you turn this bolt right here this way, then the most of the power that is applied is going to be on the fixed jaw right here. This adjustable jaw is going to act as just a supporting jaw. Now, if you want to turn it the other way, then you should flip this tool upside down the other way. So this fixed jaw is going to be here instead of here, in order for all the pulling force to be acting on a fixed jaw. If you do things this way, then you're going to be able to maintain a proper balance, and there's less of a chance of things slipping out of the action. Okay. All right. Next slide. We have something that's called a claw hammer. How do you know that this is a claw hammer? Well, where is my cursor? Here it is. All right. This right here is a claw. And this right here is the part that you strike the nails with. Yeah, so that's the head of the hammer. You use the head of the hammer to drive the nails into surfaces like wood or some surfaces that are less soft than steel, because simply you just can't drive a nail into a steel, although some people keep trying. The experiments continue. Okay, and this claw here is used to remove those nails from surfaces like wood or so. Okay. And this claw hammer is meant just for driving and removing nails. Do you guys hear buzzing in my microphone? Oh, let me just do a sound check here. Audio settings. I'm going to test my mic. Check test 1, 2. Check test. Okay. No, I don't hear any buzzing right now, so I'm not sure what that is. If I can't replicate it, I can't fix it. If you keep hearing that, let me know. Yeah. If the cell phone is nearby, where's my cell phone? Oh, my cell phone is here. It was in my pocket by the wire. Thank you. I'm just going to put this thing away. Right. Maybe that's what it was. All right, back to the claw hammer. Thank you. So the claw hammer is just meant for only driving and removing nails. There is another hammer that is called a ball peen hammer. It looks a little bit different. It doesn't have the claw as a ball peen. You can strike things with this hammer, but you cannot remove nails, just like with this one. These two are a little bit different. What is the difference between aside from just the shape? Well, I'm going to tell you this. With this hammer here, you should only strike nails that are going into softer surface than a steel. So yes, you're having a metal on metal, but you're not going to have that spring-loaded action. It's not a hard hit, because as you hit the nail gives in and is being driven into the wood. So the striking action is not as drastic as if you would hit a metal on metal. Like, let's say, for example, if you would hit a chisel with the hammer. Chisel has a metal part and there's another metal part. You should not hit a cold chisel, and we are going to look at what cold chisel is in the next few slides. You should not hit any metal on metal surfaces with this hammer, and by no means you should not be hitting something that's called a cold chisel, or you should not do any hard hits on metal, or you should not hit a metal with this hammer. Why is it that this hammer should not be used for hitting metal on metal, and this hammer is actually designed to hit metal on metal? If you want to hit some bigger metal parts, use this ball peen hammer. Or if you want to strike a cold chisel, then you should use this hammer. It has something to do with the type of metal that is being used to produce those hammers. It's the metal hardening, it's metal treatment, it's the isotopes, and basically the way the structure of the metal is used to produce these hammers. If you use this claw hammer on striking chisel, you're running into a risk of metal chipping away. This hammer, basically this hammer can break or can chip away, and when the chips fly, there is no way to tell where they're going to end up flying, and one of them might end up in your eye, and you only have 2 of those. All right, sorry. So that's the difference between those 2 hammers. Not just because the manufacturer tells you, or just because I tell you, but because of the steel or the metal that is used to make those hammers. And you should never, ever strike hammer on hammer, metal on metal. That is not recommended, for the same reason. Things can chip away and things can fly, and if things fly, they can fly right into your eye. Oh, I'm writing poetry here right now. Okay, all right. So let's just go through a short kind of a confirmatory type of a quiz. Let's look at a couple of questions here based on what we just learned. Plastic cover handles on what? Okay, we haven't talked about that, but we're going to talk about it now. So, what do you think? All right, let me just escape. Now we have a pointer here. Plastic covered handles on wire cutting pliers may be used to cut live electrical wires. True or false? Anybody? No, false, false, false. We get false. All right. And we got F. All right, that's correct. It is false. Right, here's the answer in red. False. Plastic covered handles are for comfort only. Always make sure that the circuit is de-energized. Never work on the live circuit. That's pretty much given, but you never know what is going to come to somebody's head. So I'm just going to tell you, always, de-energized circuit. Never worked on live wires. Never, ever. That's it. All right, question number 2. All right. When tightening a nut with an adjustable wrench, always pull the wrench towards you. Never push the wrench away from you. True or false? All right, that's true, false. Do have false, we have true, false. Okay. Hold on, guys. I'm just going to go back on the chat line here. Somebody asked a longer question. Could you not have a resistor in place to cut off the voltage? I think you're joking, right? Okay. I hope you're joking. Resistor You would just get less voltage, more current, or more current, less voltage, or more or less, or both of them, but you would still get a voltage, or you could still get some energy going into you. And when you're working with electrical installations, it is not a good idea to get some electricity in you. Okay, you need fiber in your diet, you need some fruits and vegetables in your diet. You do not need electricity in your diet. All right, so let's get to the, no problem. Okay, so when tightening a nut with an adjustable wrench, always pull the wrench towards you, never pull the wrench away from you, true or false? Well, here's the answer. True. Pulling gives a better leverage and balance. Balance is more key than the leverage. But it's both, actually, leverage and balance. More importantly, pulling force should be on the fixed jaw. So that's what we have gone over, explaining the anatomy of the adjustable wrench. All right, a couple more questions here. Claw hammers might be used to strike wood chisels. True or false? True. No. Well, wood chisel or cold chisel, they are still metal. So you should not use that to hit metal on metal. Let me just see here. False. Claw hammers are only for driving and removing nails. That's pretty much it. You do not want to hit metal on metal. Yes, the nail is a metal, but it's considered a smaller piece of a metal, and it gives in. So it's actually designed to withstand that type of force. Other ways, yeah, sneaky one, yes, because I said wood chisels, and the wood chisel is not made out of wood. The wood chisel is to shape wood, but the tool is actually made out of metal. All right, good eye. All right. All right, there we go. Next one. Whoa. Screwdrivers must be, well, it's an easy one. Screwdrivers might be used for purposes other than driving or removing screws, such as prying open can lids. True or false? Well, well, screwdrivers must be only used to tighten or remove screws and not for any other purpose. Years ago, when I was participating in the first aid training, it was done by one of the nurses that's was working for some emergency department somewhere, and well, I think some years she was working in all those tourist areas like Ontario, Northern Ontario, and she said statistically during the tourist season, by far, most of the calls they would get, most of the visits they would get from at the emergency department is people coming with slashed fingers because they used to use the knives to open the cans. That was the biggest. So using the wrong tool for the wrong job is no good because you can end up with, yeah. So it actually, if you might not see as many accidents as you go along, but if you know someone or if you happen to work at some department or some area that you're actually treating the injuries, then it's actually pretty big eye opener. Yeah. So using the wrong tools for the wrong job is not good. You can actually get hurt. All right, question number 5. Snips are permissible for cutting wire. Do you remember that one? False. Yes, of course. The snips use wire cutters to cut wires. Snips are for cutting sheet metal. All right, next thing here. I just gave you the answer. A proper use of a ball peen hammer is striking chisels and punches. Yes, a ball peen hammer is made for that. It has to do with the way it is made, the way the steel that is used to make that hammer, the way the treatment and the manufacturing, it is designed. The structure of that steel is designed to hit metal. All right, I think it's the last question. Safety glasses should be worn only when using power tools. Well, of course, we get a bunch of falses here. Yeah, you're right. I'm so proud of you. You're so smart. Safety glasses should always be worn when working with all hand tools to prevent an eye injury. Manual tools can be just as dangerous as power tools. So, tools, hand tools are classified as power or manual. If it's a power tool, like a drill, you can still hold it in your hand. So it's considered as a hand tool, but it's powered as opposed to a hammer that is also a hand tool, but you don't plug the hammer into a wall unless, again, the experiments continue. And you can know about all the experiments from people who work in the emergency departments. All right, hand tools for the job. There's these pictures are for people with strong stomachs, but you know what? If I don't show you this, there will be no emotional association in your brain, and it's better to see it in the picture than actually experience it on your own body. Manual tools can be just as dangerous as power tools and other equipment when not properly used, stored, or maintained. Your hand tools are an important part of your job and should be treated, cared for, and used correctly. I don't think I have to explain anything about these two pictures. All right, let's keep going. It is estimated that 8% of industrial accidents involve the unsafe use of hand tools, both manual and or power tools. These accidents result from using the wrong tool for the job, using the right tool incorrectly, failing to wear PPE, failing to follow approved safety guidelines. Nick is trying to get in. Come on in, Nick. All right. Keep going. What do we have here? This would be an example of using the right tool incorrectly. This is an X-Acto knife. This is an X-Acto knife. And of course, when the cut is being made, where is the knife going to go? Well, it is going to go in that person's finger. Using the correct tools correctly, probably if you work at Tim Hortons, my guess is that you probably would get some training on how to cut bagels. I remember when bagels came out years ago, Tim Hortons did not have bagels, and then they came out, and there will be a whole bunch of accidents, people not cutting the bagels properly, and it was actually on the news. Now, what do I have here? All right. I don't even know. Maybe I should put a competition on how to name this picture. Okay, what will be the title of this picture? I don't know, crack expansion or spinal tap? I don't know, but it's quite artistic, I would say. Do I need to explain why you should not be using a circular saw to cut wood that way, or do any kind of cuts using your fellow worker as a prop? Well, you know, I kind of inherited this PowerPoint, and I keep improving on it, but. Well, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, or I should just call this, the title of this picture should be just plain old stupid. I hope that these guys are posing for a picture just to show things are being used wrong, in a wrong way. Yeah, let's keep going. Hand tools, safety rules. Never use any tool manual or powered unless you are trained to do so. Okay, after the first thing, I'm going to stop here for a sec. Some years ago, we had at our house, we used to have some logs to cut, some tree branches, and somebody brought us a chainsaw. And they just give it a crash course. This is how you turn it on. This is how you all right. So I'm looking at this thing, but something just kind of got to me, and so I'm going to just go on YouTube and Search chainsaw safe use. And I found all bunch of videos that would talk about the safety while using chainsaw. And you know what? After about an hour of watching those, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to use that. So I never used that tool. That's just my example. And I think I did the right choice. I made the right choice because just because you see somebody using some tool and they make it look so easy, it doesn't mean that it's easy. Always, if it's the smallest, the stupidest tool that you're going to use, always research the safety on that, because once you get damaged, sometimes you can never get some of those things back. Right. Inspect tools before each use and replace or repair if worn or damaged. Self-explanatory. I don't think I have to add anything to this. Keep cutting edges sharp. Why do we need to keep cutting edges sharp? Well, cutting edges are supposed to cut. And in order for the cutting edges to cut, they're supposed to be sharp. So that's the proper state of that tool. If you have a tool that its cutting edge is not sharp, that means the tool is going to have a hard time cutting whatever you're supposed to cut with. And then when that happens, you have a tool that is not in proper condition. And if that happens, then you're going to try to invent other ways of using that. And this is when the accidents happen, because you're beginning to use the tool incorrectly, and you can actually hurt yourself with tool that is supposed to be sharp, but it's dull. So the good old saying that what's more dangerous to use, a sharp knife or a dull knife? Actually, a dull knife is more dangerous to use, because with the dull knife, you're going to try to find other way of positioning yourself to cut something, and you can actually get hurt. Carry tools correctly. Never put sharp or pointed tools in your pockets. Again, it's self-explanatory. However, it must be mentioned. If you carry sharp tools in your pockets, you're going to bend over to reach some things from the floor. Sometimes you're going to squat to do certain jobs. And if you forget that you have a sharp tool in your pocket, then if you change the position of your body, you might actually drive that tool into your body, which is basically not pretty. Carry tools, lightly oil metal tools. Just to keep the proper condition of the tools. Store the tools in clean and dry place, or as otherwise required. If it is a tool that is supposed to be kept moist in some oil or something like that, of course you're not going to keep it dry because Mr. Bach said so. Okay. So always read the instructions, be familiar with your tools. Wear PPE, such as safety glasses, face shields, gloves, etc., as required. And one of the reasons I didn't use the chainsaw that somebody lent me is because I found out, well, I need some other personal protective equipment, such as face shield. Because sometimes what happens, if you drive a chainsaw into a log, if there is a nail, because sometimes when please turn your microphones off. Turn the microphones off, please. Guys, somebody's got their microphone on. Turn it off, please. Turn your microphone off. Thank you. All right. What happens is that if you have a tree growing, okay, there is a nice tree. All right. Looks like a nice tree. And somebody drives a nail into this tree. As the tree grows over the years, the tree is going to cover that nail because the stem just gets wider and wider. So what happens is you have a nail inside that tree. You don't even know that. And then if you start driving a chainsaw into that tree, and if you hit that nail, what happens is that chainsaw is going to bounce back. And how is it going to bounce back? Like this. It's going to hit you right in the forehead while the chain is full speed. Not a pretty sight. Okay, so I didn't have and you don't see those. So people who are experienced using chainsaws or other equipment, they know that stuff and they use it a certain way. And yes, they make it look so easy. But if you haven't used that, if you haven't been trained, please. I just hope I saved somebody's skin here just by showing you that tree picture here. Okay? All right. Do not use a tool if its handle has splinters, burrs, cracks, splits, or if the head of the tool is loose. So basically, the idea of this sentence is that if the tool is damaged in any sort of way, do not use that because, again, the point of this lesson is you can actually hurt yourself by doing that. All right, the tree is gone. Do not use impact tools such as hammers, chisels, punches, or steel stakes that have mushroomed heads. And this is what a mushroomed head looks like. This head of this chisel was hit so many times that it actually got damaged and it became so-called mushroomed. Okay. All right, keep going. Additional safety rules. Do not carry tools if your hand, do not carry tools in your hand when you are climbing the ladder. Climbing the ladder, do not carry your tools in your hands. Carry the tools in the tool belt or hoist the tools to your work area using a hand line or a bucket or so on. We're going to have more on that when we talk about ladders safety. Do not throw tools from one location to another or from one employee to another, from scaffolds or from elevated platforms and whatnot. Do not throw tools to each other. Okay, we have a mouthful here of writing and reading. Always match the size and the type of a screwdriver blade to fit the head of the screw. Do not hold the work pieces against your body while using a screwdriver or a knife or so on. Basically, if this is a knife and if you're supposed to cut something with this knife, do not do it this way because you can just stab yourself. Okay. Do I need to mention that? Yes, I need to mention that. Do not use a screwdriver as a punch or a chisel, pry bar, or nail puller. And an idea why is that? Why you should not use a screwdriver as a chisel? It is because of the way the metal is made that is used to produce the screwdriver. That metal is not designed to be used as a chisel, and when that happens, things can break, things can chip away, and they can fly into your eye. Okay. Do not strike nails or other objects with the cheek of the hammer, which is basically do not strike excuse me, anything with the side of the hammer. It's not meant to do that. Again, things can chip away and they can fly into your eye. Do not strike hardened steel surface such as cold chisel with a claw hammer. A ball peen hammer should be used. We went over that a few slides back. Do not strike one hammer against another hammer. All right, cold chisel. We talked about cold chisels, but I just felt that maybe I should have some definition of what a cold chisel is. Cold chisel is a tool made of tempered steel used for cutting cold metals. Cold chisels are not used in conjunctions with heating torches or forges. Cold metal, basically it's a metal that is in a state of being cold, not heated up. Okay? So that's what it's called. That's what is what cold chisel is. All right, pliers and saws. Do not use pliers as wrench or a hammer. Again, this is something to do with using the right tool for the right job. Do not attempt to force pliers by using a hammer on them. Have I seen that? There's a heavy wire to be cut, heavier than the pliers can handle, and somebody's going to hit the pliers in order to cut, or maybe somebody wants to cut a screw with the pliers or cut a heavy wire with the pliers, and they would use a hammer to help them. That's one of the worst things you can do. Well, just as far as a leverage, if these are pliers and this is the wire to be cut, there we go. If you apply the pliers with just the tip of those jaws on that wire, you need to apply more force on the handles in order to cut that. If you shift that wire closer to the pivotal point of those pliers, then you're going to have to use less force. This is just how the leverages are, the weights are distributed. It's just how it works. This, you have to push stronger. And this, you don't have to push as strong on those handles in order to cut that. Okay? All right. Where were we? Do not use, do not use, do not use, so we're here right now, right here. Do not use an adjustable blade saw, such as a hacksaw, copying saw, keyhole saw, or a bow saw if the blade is not taut. Well, let's just give an example of a hacksaw. There's a hacksaw, there's the handle of the hacksaw, and here's the blade. Here's the handle. Here's the blade. The blade is mounted on the hacksaw, and quite often there's going to be a tightening screw right here. I just keep tightening it in order to make the blade, the tension has to be proper. If the tension is not proper, that blade is going to wobble on you, and as if you push it with the hacksaw, then that blade can break, and you can drive your hand into that blade, the broken blade. Okay? Erase, erase, erase the evidence. All right. Next slide. Do not use the saw that has dull saw blades. Same thing, dull or sharp knife. If a saw has a blade that is not sharpened properly, then you're going to invent other ways of using it by positioning yourself or applying forces different ways. And when you do that, you're putting yourself in danger. Okay, put downwards pressure over the blade on forward stroke of the saw. I would suggest that because we're not going to cut the pipes, you're going to cut the conduits, metal conduits, using hacksaw when you go to the next class after this, next term. But pre-COVID, we used to do some light cutting with the hacksaws, and that was some of the most not dangerous part, but I would have to spend extra attention watching everyone using the hacksaw to cut the metal conduits, because this is when the danger happens. Yeah, it looks just a simple motion of cutting things with a hacksaw, but if you don't do it right, in a split second before you know it, you can hit yourself against the stubby kind of ending of the conduit, or you can actually hurt yourself pretty badly. And we did have some cuts and bruises in the past. So that's why every time we get to use people to use the hacksaws or any tools of this sort, I'm basically watching like a hawk over every single one of you, and I'm going to be pointing out. But I think you're going to have this in the next class. The next, we just talked with Mr. Crouch. And when you do the pipe bending or conduit bending, that's when you're going to start. But before you do that, do yourself a favor. YouTube University, any kind of tool, just name the tool for the safe use. You'll be surprised how much you're going to find. One day you're going to leave this school, you're not going to have us watching over you, and you're going to get all kinds of different new tools that you're going to be using, I encourage you strongly, strongly, strongly to review the safety rules and regulations that have to do with this tool. It could be the simplest, stupidest tool, but it can hurt you if you don't use it properly. Okay. Always securely fasten the object that is being sewn so that it does not slip. That's something to do with the hacksaw. So I encourage you to just watch some of the safety videos before you get into Mr. Crouch's class next next term. So it's going to be that much richer in knowledge. All right, what factors must be considered before you select a hand tool? Okay, the one factor that is often overlooked is the ergonomics. Does it fit your hand? Is the right fit for the job? Ergonomics. What is ergonomics? Ergonomics is a study that has to do with the proper interface of whatever you're using with your body. Okay? Any motorcycle riders? One motorcycle is not good for everybody. Okay, there's certain motorcycles that are used for certain type of bodies, people, and if you have certain type of body, you might want to use one motorcycle over the other. Now, chair. What is the best chair position if you want to buy a good ergonomic chair? Well, one of the sometimes I ask, what is the best positioned chair that's on the market? What are you going to look for the best position? Well, there is no best position of a chair. What you're looking for when it comes to using a proper chair is that you should be able to change its positioning once in a while, because if you sit in one position for a longer time, your body actually might get hurt. So it's a good idea to sit in one position for a certain time and then change the position slightly, just so your body kind of changes all the time. That has something to do with ergonomics. It's fitting the tool for the right type of your body, type of your hands, type of whatever you're going to use. It's well, what can I say about this to you? If you're using a tool in your kitchen and you're going to use it once in a while, then if it's not ergonomically correct, you might hurt yourself with that, or you might hurt, but you're not going to hurt yourself in a as far as prolonged use of that. If you're buying a tool and if you're going to use a tool such as side cutters, and those side cutters you're going to use for the next 10 years, you better spend some extra dollars to buy a good pair of side cutters, because if you buy a bad pair, a cheap one, not ergonomically sound, you are going to develop all kinds of different funny things around your hand if you use it for a longer period of time, day in, day out. So that's something to do with ergonomics. If you use a tool that does not fit your hand, or the tool in a way it was not intended, you might develop an injury such as carpal tunnel syndrome, tendonitis, and muscle strain. These injuries result from repetitive movements that are performed over time or for a long period of time. I guess not reading. The damage occurs to muscles, tendons, nerves, ligaments, joints, cartilage, spinal discs, or blood vessels. Injuries such as these can last a lifetime. All right, repetitive strain injuries. These are the injuries that just as I mentioned, spend extra dollars on your tool. Make sure it's nice and comfortable if you're using that tool repetitively over longer time. And those injuries are as such. You can have tingling, swelling in the joints, decreased ability to move, decreased grip strength, continual muscle fatigue, sore muscles, numbness, change in the skin color or hands or fingertips, or pain from movement, pressure, or exposure to cold or vibration. You guys are young right now, so sometimes you don't feel any of those. But trust me, as you go along, and you're not moving backwards with your life, you're moving forward. So the years add up, and if you make too many mistakes, you're going to pay for them later. So I'm just trying to prevent you from doing that. And you know, you might be like 25 or 27 or 22 right now, but trust me, the time is going to come that you're going to be 50 something, right? And you will be at that time. And when you're 50, do you want to be comfortable or uncomfortable? Your choice. All right, power and precision grips, single handle. You know what? We're going to finish this next time because we're just about to finish with this time. So we're going to stop here and we're going to continue with these slides next time as we go along into the next topic, but we're going to spend a few minutes just finishing this. So now, are there any more questions? Okay, just discard. Just a reminder, somebody's already paying. Okay, yeah, well, as our schedule goes along, we are in week 3 right now, so hand tools. And week 4, which is next week, we are going to have a quiz. All right, see? And the quiz is going to cover up till week 3. Okay, so that's going to be after the next week's lecture, and it's going to be on the same basis as the last quiz. All right, it's going to be online quiz, and it's going to be worth 5% of your class. All right, if you have any questions, just try to send a text now, or if not, send me an email. I try to answer the emails as I go along, but sometimes I get overwhelmed, and as much as I try, and if I overlook one of your emails, I would apologize sincerely for that. If I haven't answered in a couple of days, or let's say 3-4 days, then please send the email again. It's not my intention to ignore you, but sometimes I do get overwhelmed with the emails. Okay, so this is basically the conclusion of today's class, and I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I was trying to speed up a little bit to get the, yeah, so the next, yeah, we're going to continue with the other side of the PowerPoint tomorrow, and maybe we're going to have some slight review. And that's going to be the end of this week. Okay, I will see you tomorrow because I'm beginning to blab right now. I'll see you tomorrow at whatever the time. What's the time for tomorrow? Let me just quickly look at the schedule. And the schedule says tomorrow I will see you at 11 a.m. Yeah. Okay, thank you. It's been a blast, and I'll see you tomorrow.